Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. Suckdown continued to be Suckdown, when the best part about this show is a women's championship match featuring Bayley and Carmella that went on way too long to begin with and still ended up being the probably most entertaining moment of the entire show as far as in-ring wrestling is concerned. You know you were in for a long night, and the rest of the show was regular old one-way ticket to Sucktown, courtesy of Bruce Pritchard and the clowns of WWE Creative and SmackDown on Fox. And we are here to talk about it right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's SmackDown review and reaction show only on Sledgehammer TV. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Happy Valentine's Day to all of you beautiful, gorgeous sledgeheads out there. I hope you filled today with all of the love that you could muster from whoever it is your main squeeze is. I hope they gave you a wonderful Valentine's Day in return. If you are among the many single people, I hope you singled it up this Valentine's Day. It's a Friday night, and you shouldn't have been home, sitting at home like a depressed maniac, watching something like SmackDown, which would have made you want to slit your wrist because you don't have a partner to share it with, and it makes Valentine's Day even worse. I hope that was not your night. I hope everybody had a good night, as good as could possibly be. If you're going through a breakup and you felt like shit all day because it was Valentine's Day, then you know how I felt watching SmackDown on this evening. It's just a continued denigration of what was once the better of the two WWE shows, and I will never understand it. We have been told that Vince McMahon is stepping back. He's got the XFL kicking off, and it's actually not so bad. It's kicked off much better than it did all those years ago the first time he tried it. And he's got his attention in other places, and he is leaving the gorilla position to Bruce Pritchard. And Bruce Pritchard is not doing any better than Vince McMahon on his worst day. This show is not good. And I don't understand all the people on social media. Oh, SmackDown feels so much better tonight. No, it doesn't. What about this felt better? We had a useless Firefly Funhouse featuring Hulk Hogan talking to Bray Wyatt about Bill Goldberg. Now, I know Hulk Hogan is going back into the Hall of Fame for a second time as a member of the New World Order, and that's why he's around, sniffing around once again, but nobody really cares anymore. Hulk Hogan has lost his luster. No, even the guys like me that have a soft spot in their heart for Hogan because you grew up cheering the man, you're just kind of done with him. He has no impact like he used to. And why is he the hype man for Bill Goldberg? You don't have anybody more recent that could talk to us about Bill Goldberg? I would have much rather have seen Sting sitting there talking about Bill Goldberg and maybe Bray Wyatt fucking with Sting. That would have been something more memorable, I think. Hollywood Hogan? Who cares? Who cares what he has to say about Goldberg versus The Fiend? A match that shouldn't be happening anyway. At the Super Shitdown just a couple of weeks away. That was on this show. Oh, Bray Wyatt did the NWO, man. No, who cares? Who cares? Came out in a black and white doing the following announcement is paid for by the Firefly Funhouse. And it may have got your little nostalgia bug going. It may have made you laugh on a couple of occasions when he gave the little stupid pig man, what's his name, Hampton the pig or Ham, who I don't give a shit, when he gave him the piece of chocolate and was like, oh, I hope it wasn't too sweet. Hulk Hogan, NWO, too sweet, tongue-in-cheek. That wasn't a blowjob move. That was a tongue-in-cheek. Never mind. You know, Valentine's Day. It's got everybody thinking all these crazy things. Don't be thinking all about that, because there was nothing romantic, nothing remotely sexual about this show, except maybe it wanted you to just forget all about living. And you know what? I don't even care about Valentine's. I don't care about my sex life. This show is horrible. And I'm just going to end it all right now because I can't take it anymore. That might be a little extreme, but that's how this show makes me feel. It makes me crazy. This show has taken the place of Monday Night Raw in the crazy department. Monday Night Raw used to get me all like this. You know, on a day like today, where I had a nice day, I spent time with the wife, we did the Valentine's thing, and I came home just in time to sit down and ruin it all with a blue dessert dish of broken hearts, like the heart of Otis. Poor Otis. The one scene tonight, the one segment tonight everybody was looking forward to, you knew somehow it was going to not go well for Otis. I actually expected Sonya Deville to be the one to ruin this date. I thought the WWE would have the balls, considering what AEW has been doing, to at least acknowledge the fact that, alright, we screwed up the whole same-sex lesbian angle with Lana and Liv, since that's not even a real thing. Maybe we give the lesbian angle to the actual lesbian girl that is under our employ, and maybe Mandy is her secret crush that they've kind of hinted at on the show. You've kind of seen that in some of the segments they've been involved in. And it would have been much more interesting, at the very least, to see Sonya Deville come in and ruin date night. Maybe Otis sits down, they order the first course, and then all of a sudden she comes and turns over the table because she's in love with Mandy, and then we can go down this road. Or, literally, anybody else, except for the guy they chose to ruin everything. Because Dolph Ziggler ruins everything no matter what he touches. This guy has been so dead on this roster. He's been second fiddle to King Dickhead for way too long. He's been given tag team partner after tag team partner. They paired him with Drew McIntyre and that went nowhere. They paired him with Bobby Roode and that's going nowhere. It's just a dead character. The guy hasn't been relevant and the guy hasn't been good since 5-6 years ago. The Dolph Ziggler train has left this station and is now firmly planted in Suckville. And I don't want to see it anymore. And him being involved in this storyline only makes the most intriguing storyline that SmackDown actually had go completely down the shitter in value. I don't care anymore. What are we going to see? Heavy Machinery versus Roode and Ziggler 100,000 times with the fate of who Mandy's going to date in the balance? And who writes this shit? You made Otis look like an idiot. You had Mandy Rose show up at the restaurant and Otis isn't there. Otis is late. Why would you be late for a date with a woman that is 110 times out of your league, bro? You made the guy look like a clown by writing him this way. Any woman that is left waiting for the amount of time Mandy Rose was in that restaurant certainly is allowed to let some other dude come and sit because this guy didn't give a shit enough to get his fat ass here on time. He was too busy worrying and sweating with Tucker in the back of SmackDown instead of getting here and doing what we want to do for Valentine's Day. So you made him look like a fool. So whose fault really is it? And I know everybody feels bad. Even I felt bad. The guy's a good actor. You seen the sadness in his face? Otis showed up at the restaurant finally. He's got roses in his hand, and he shows up to see Mandy Rose sitting there with Dolph Ziggler. If Mandy Rose was a half-decent woman, she would have told Dolph Ziggler to hit the fucking bricks. Otis is coming through. That's not your seat. So there's a couple of little things where you could pick holes in this whole scenario. But the biggest problem with the whole thing, and the biggest reason to bring down the poop hammer, is Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler ruined what could have been a very awesome moment for poor Otis of Heavy Machinery. He ruined what was probably a good segment for the rest of us to watch. And I still think they could have done a whole lot better. And while we went into this not expecting it to go well, I certainly didn't expect it to go down the road of Ziggler, which makes it infinitely worse. What else was horrible about this show? Let's bring down another poop hammer. It's absolutely necessary. The poop hammer is coming down on the way the WWE has booked not only Sheamus, but Chad Gable and Apollo Crews. Ah! That's not the scream we meant to see, but that's how this makes me feel. I'm sorry you guys had to see that. I didn't have my little scream button ready. That would have been pretty funny to put there because it's terrifying and it makes me look exactly like Lana in that moment. When I have to take into consideration that they had Sheamus in a handicap match against both Chad Gable and Apollo Crews. And it was a squash match. Sheamus beat both of these guys with little to no effort. Does Sheamus need to be rebuilt this way? Do we not all already understand that Sheamus is the Celtic Warrior and that he's a multiple-time World Tag Team Champion and he does not have to be walking around having squash matches against jobbers and turning subsequent solid mid-card acts like Chad Gable and Apollo Crews into jobbers in the process? Where is this going to lead? Is Sheamus going to get a partner and now we are going to see Apollo Crews and Chad Gable versus these two for the next couple of weeks? Apparently, Sheamus doesn't need a partner. If I was embarrassed like that, I wouldn't go back after Sheamus if I were Chad Gable or Apollo Crews. How terrible is it for both of these guys? I'm sure Chad Gable's really glad he went with the Shorty G thing. Well, at least I'm on TV, but they're making you look like a schmuck. Awful. And Apollo Crews, all of a sudden he's having matches. The guy's been sitting in the back woofing down craft services and whatever else they got up there in Canada. And it's all of a sudden, go out there and wrestle. We're going to give you a partner that doesn't make sense. You're going to go out there and wrestle Sheamus because he's beaten both of you in the last couple of weeks. And now he's going to beat you both at the same time because we said so. And it's just nonsense. It's nonsense. Sheamus doesn't need a win like that. Gable and Crews certainly don't need to be losing in that fashion. You should be building both of these guys up. Hey, here's an idea. Instead of having them waste their time with Sheamus, why not turn Apollo Crews heel? Or Chad Gable heel? Do something with either one of them and put them against each other. How about that? Give them a series of matches on SmackDown, culminating at the pay-per-view with some sort of a nice little blow-up for a little mini feud to get these guys both back on track. But no, instead we're going to throw them out there like a couple of pieces of trash to get bro kicked in the face and thanks for coming, here's your check. We'll make you a t-shirt with some teeth flying out your face and a boot going across your mouth. At least you'll be making money. It doesn't matter, we're making you look like a jackass. If I were either one of those gentlemen, I would be seriously considering other options when my contract comes up. And there would be no amount of money that you could offer me that would make me stay when you are having me lose in a 2-on-1 scenario. And Apollo Crews, Chad Gable, we know he's a littler of the two guys, right? But he's infinitely talented. His time in American Alpha was maybe unmatched by most of the guys that are down in NXT, even to this day. They're one of the best tag teams I've ever seen do their thing. Chad Gable is a fantastic amateur wrestler. He's got talent for days. And Apollo Crews, built like a brick shit house, smile like $1 million. Guy could be the face of the company if they just put the time into him and got him into where he needs to be with his promos and put the work in and book him appropriately. But no. Instead, we get things like this. And you want to come out here and say, SmackDown's been better this week, bro. No, it hasn't. It had one decent match. Carmella versus Bayley. And the fact that that was the decent match makes it all the worse. Almost 40 minutes we had to deal with that shit because instead of just starting the show with a match that we all already knew we were going to have, being Bayley versus Carmella for the SmackDown Women's Championship, we had to prolong it by opening the show altogether with a moment of bliss so we can hear Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross talk about their crushes on Brad Pitt. Because this is why I watch wrestling. I don't mind seeing them in their tight pants and all that. They were both looking pretty good if I'm being honest with you. But who cares? What does this matter? This match was already made. We didn't need a pre-match angle to get the match going. Carmella was the guest for a moment of bliss. She's going to run down Bayley. She's going to run down Sasha Banks. Talk about how Sasha Banks is the reason why Baymella is no longer friends and is the reason for Bayley's sudden change of attitude. Blah, 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 blah. Bayley comes out and is like, stop talking about my girl. Next thing you know, they're going to have this match that was supposedly for later right now. All of that was unnecessary. All of it was unnecessary. Just start the show and have Michael Cole say, we're kicking things off with the Women's Championship, and go. Just to have Alexa on the screen? Is it that important that you have to drag this show on? You had to start SmackDown off in such a negative way. One week these two are wrestling in tag team matches and winning. The next week they're doing interview segments that mean absolutely nothing. But it's a better show this week, you know? Thumbs up show this week. My ass. Thumbs up show. Bayley retained her championship, in case you gave a shit, in this overly long but entertaining matchup. This was probably one of the best women's matchups I've seen these girls have. At least in the last calendar year, if I'm being honest. For a WWE women's match, this was very good. And you have to give them credit where credit is due. The best part about this matchup came when it was finished. And the real person that should be in the spotlight right now, Naomi, came and tried to attack Bayley and get the better of her. Both she and Carmella hit Bayley with a pair of super kicks. And Naomi would go on later this night to challenge Bayley for the Women's Championship. And again, all of this really is unnecessary. This match with Carmella was unnecessary. All you had to do was have Naomi win the Fatal 4-Way last week, and you were already on this road, where you didn't need this meaningless title match that ended up being 40 minutes long on a SmackDown in the middle of Vancouver, Connecticut for no reason. And you could have been building Naomi up opposite the champion as the incumbent challenger, and there would be nothing wrong with that. I don't understand this sidestep to Carmella just to get to where you very easily could have got to in the first place. Ass backwards booking, and it makes no sense. For the first time this night, we see Otis getting ready for his date in the back with Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose messaged that she was running a little late. At least she gave him a little bit of a heads up. And then he was talking to Tucky about being nervous and that he's afraid Mandy's not going to like him. Tucker's sure that Otis is going to have a good time on his date. The fans are really into all of this. There was a lot of noise going on. Otis chants ringing throughout the crowd. And I think everybody watching the show was pulling for Brock Lesnar's little brother, Otis, to score big with Mandy Rose. Sheamus defeats Shorty G and Apollo Crews. We already just talked about that, and it's not worth talking about again. Hulk Hogan, live from Tampa, Florida, getting in the face of The Fiend via satellite, trying to hype his NWO induction, and then things went awry. Bray Wyatt mocked Hulk Hogan, made NWO references, as we made mention of earlier. Hogan said he heard enough, and he walked off and said he's going to see us all at the Hall of Fame, and that's fine. Bray Wyatt then very creepily and very cryptically told Hulk Hogan that there is always room for another face on his wall of victims, with a picture of Hogan with his eyes X'd out and his mouth all scratched off and all the things that The Fiend does. And that's fine. It's fine. It's over. It's done now. Let's move on. I don't understand what it did to get anybody more excited about the Goldberg match, but there you go. This week in WWE history is now a thing that they are doing once again, and this week's segment focused on when The Rock returned on February the 14th, 2011, and then Michael Cole and Corey Graves talked about how Simone Johnson, The Rock's daughter, has joined the Performance Center and has the very real possibility of being the first ever fourth-generation WWE wrestler. Then we get into some cringe territory, and I don't care how funny you think Sami Zayn might be, I don't care how entertaining you think this segment might have been, it is all based around and is nothing but nonsense. When you have Cesaro out there playing a fucking cowbell instead of wrestling his ass off against some of the best wrestlers in the world, I have no tolerance for it. Do you know how good a Sami Zayn versus Cesaro feud would be if put in the hands of a proper booker? Instead of them going out there acting like a couple of jackasses with a ukulele and a cowbell, all because they've been tormented by Elias and they're not being treated fairly. So they're staging a protest concert? Even Shinsuke Nakamura had the sense of mind to know that this is stupid and I'm not going to go out there. Why not have him out there in his ridiculous, Count Dracula outfits with a little violin in his hand, going along with Sammy, and this was ridiculous. And when Elias hits the screen nowadays, I don't care. And then how did this whole end? With Braun Strowman! Surprise! The guy that's involved with the rest of these guys for the last couple of months, the newly crowned Intercontinental Champion, comes out to save Elias from Sami Zayn and Cesaro. The best thing about this segment was Strowman and Elias taking a security guard who hit the ring to try to separate these guys and tossing him like he was a football. And he was going deep for the Hail Mary in the end zone. This guy flew like Superman through the air. Superman with no control of his body having a spaz attack, but Superman-like height and speed nonetheless. But outside of that, I don't care. I didn't care about Sami Zayn and Cesaro trying to sing their song. I didn't care that the crowd was chanting Walk with Elias. I don't care that Braun Strowman came out. I don't care. I don't care. They've given me no reason to care. And in my honest opinion, Braun Strowman, as the Intercontinental Champion, is the worst decision in all booking championship booking decisions that they've maybe made in the modern era. He's not an Intercontinental Champion. That belt was not meant for gigantic clown goofballs like Braun Strowman. It was meant for the guys like Chad Gable that could go in the ring and will never really get that World Heavyweight Championship. And many other guys just like him. But instead it's around the waist of a 7-foot circus clown. Great. I didn't care. We're at the restaurant. Once again, Mandy Rose continues to wait because Otis now is late. He's too busy being nervous in the back with Tucker. He finally arrives at the restaurant with the bouquet of flowers, his red roses to be specific, and his cut-off tuxedo jacket. But then somebody approached Mandy Rose. They did some kind of creative cutting so that you couldn't tell that it was somebody different until they pulled back and revealed Dolph Ziggler. And this was awful. Awful for Otis, awful for us, awful for Mandy, awful for everybody. We won't ramble on that once again. Michael Cole noted that King Corbin will not be in attendance this evening because he's not allowed to compete due to his actions last week on SmackDown, which I've already forgotten about. I've been blacking them out as they happen. I don't really care. And I rely on these notes here tonight because I'm kind of blacked out on this main event that I had absolutely no care for, especially when Baron Corbin, who was not supposed to be in attendance, according to Michael Cole, just seconds before the big giant king dickhead came out and sat ringside with a ticket. Just ridiculous. As soon as you have Roman and Corbin in the same segment, I'm done. I'm tuned out. I don't care. Do I give a shit now about Daniel Bryan being Roman Reigns' partner? No. We all know how this is going to end. We all know Daniel Bryan is just out there to fill the space. He's not going to get the win. Roman's going to get the win. It's going to be about Roman and Baron. That's what it's always about. And once again, we are going to have a main event segment of a SmackDown Live being focused around these two jackasses. When you got The Miz and Daniel Bryan in the ring, and they have a long storied history, and they could be playing off of that. Why not have Daniel Bryan find a mystery partner and leave Roman Reigns out of it? And have Daniel Bryan team up with somebody and go up against his longtime rival with his longtime running buddy. I'd be way more interested in that. Whenever the big dog hits my big screen, I want to take a big shit. It would be much more worth my time. Especially when they have him involved with my least favorite wrestler in maybe ever. I've never seen anybody with so much potential fizzle out so fast, yet still get the push. Nobody fails as hard as Baron Corbin. He wants to turn it around on us and say he's the most hated man. I'm the most hated. But you're not being hated properly. You're not hated the way Ric Flair was hated. You are hated the way Eva Marie was hated. There's a tremendous difference, a tremendous gap in the ways that hate can be defined when you want to do it representing those 2 points. I don't think I could define it any better. There's Ric Flair heat and there's Eva Marie heat. And you don't want that one. It's red for a reason. 'Cause it's the worst. But that's what we get. That was SmackDown. Once again, a tag team matchup that had nothing to do with anything other than Roman and Baron Corbin. Johnny Nitro returned. John Morrison returned to the WWE to do nothing, apparently. This was a waste of everybody's time. Especially yours and mine. After the match, King Corbin jumped Roman Reigns from behind and then sat in his throne to end SmackDown, as if we're supposed to give a shit. Soaked in the booze, and we faded to black. And I am very, very grateful for NXT TakeOver this Sunday. We're not leading into a main roster show, we are leading into a TakeOver. And there's no pay-per-view like a TakeOver pay-per-view, and they finally get to have a weekend all to themselves. They're not going to be surrounded by the stench of a main roster show like the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, clouding up everything and just putting them down and just making them feel like a second best. They're not running on Saturday. They got the Sunday night spot, and it's deserved. And when you're giving me shit like this on a SmackDown, I don't ever want to see a main roster pay-per-view. Ever. Just ridiculous. Don't forget to let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. How did you guys take SmackDown tonight if you had the guts to watch it? Or hopefully you had something better to do with your night. And you're tuning in to me to find out what you missed. And trust me, you didn't miss nothing. Nothing of importance happened on this show at all. Next week, we're going to have Goldberg finally show up. Thank God, at least it's not going to be Hulk Hogan. I still think Sting would have been a better choice in that scenario. Carmella's going to take on Naomi in a number 1 contenders match for a shot at the SmackDown Women's Champion. Why? She just fucking lost. Why doesn't Naomi just get the shot? She's got to beat the loser? It's fucking stupid. And then we are going to have an exclusive interview with Lacey Evans. We took time out tonight on SmackDown to point out Lacey Evans as a sympathetic character. Bam, bam, I'm putting letters inside my shoes now because I love my fans. Yeah, bam, 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 bam. Do you care? Do you know what happens to those letters? They're going to get all full of sweat. The ink's going to bleed, you're going to pull it out of your foot, and you're never going to know what the fucking letter says again. Hopefully you at least have the signature on the bottom so you can go, oh, this wet blur was once written to me by little fucking Timmy from Texas. I'm sorry. We're going to end on that note. Do you care? Do you care? What the hell could she possibly have to say to us now? I don't really care. And oh, by the way, in case you didn't see it, in 2 weeks, John Cena's coming back to SmackDown, because that's what we need. We need another Roman. We need the original Roman Reigns to come back to SmackDown and give me another reason to bring this hammer down on my own head for watching this ridiculous show, which I do for you. Okay, happy Valentine's Day. This was my gift to each and every one of you. Thank you all for joining me once again here today. Don't forget to be here Sunday when the hammer comes down on NXT TakeOver Portland, which is going to be one hell of a show. We put up the TakeOver preview and prediction show. We haven't done a prediction show in quite some time. You guys that have seen it, you know they're a little bit different. We do a little bit of extra graphic work. We do a little bit of background music, and we talk about the show that we are about to see, and we don't talk about the results, but what we kind of hope to see, and that is live on the channel for you guys to view right now before Sunday night's event. It'll be there all day Saturday, so make sure you take advantage of it. If you missed the Monday Night Raw or AEW reviews, they will be linked in the annotations as well. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button if you had a good time here today. Smash that like button if I made you laugh, if I made you cry, if I made you understand why SmackDown is still the land where the sun just don't shine. And it is not about love, it is about hate, and it is not about happiness, it is about depression. Blue is the color of sadness and depression, so it's only fitting that SmackDown is the blue brand. Don't forget to share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if maybe they need a little bit of a pick-me-up for their Valentine's Day evening or Valentine's weekend, as it were. And I hope to see you guys all here Sunday night for the TakeOver review. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball. The most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you. That, my friends, is going to do it, and we are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.